Hi besties, hi bunnies. Coffee's cold, truce brewing. Let's hit the road. Just Machado wheeling hand, time to unfold. Early light breaks, coffee chilling in my grip. Hi besties, hi bunnies, join the trip. Cruising mass highway, spilling secrets for hours. 1 to 3 deep, no holds barred, owning our power. Squad's got my back, riding waves through the storm. Besties and bunnies, keeping it warm. Got that wild spark, singing random and free. Keeping the vibe alive, just you and me. Trolls creeping in, haters twisting the feet. Weak shots flying, but they can't plant the seed. Jabbing in my style, my fire, my rise. Obsessed in the shadows, watching with jealous eyes. Drama stirrers calling grift, but facts don't lie. While y'all fume, my lights touching the sky. Reddit ghosts lurking, basement critique so low. Keep throwing shade, watch this bunny glow. Meow, 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 meow. Hey. Meow, 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 feel it now. Bunny. Just Machado show, chasing down the real. Besties and bunnies got that unbreakable seal. Meow, 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 trolls fade away. Truth in the air, lighting up the day. After dark or dawn's first gleam, we claim the throne. Justice rolling, meow, if you're in the zone. Meow, meow.
Love to my besties trolls.
See a truth awaits. Just Machado show. Buckle up. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Feel it now. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Feel it now. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Feel it now. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Bunnies.
Hey, good morning. Hi. Um, I'm still home. I'm in my bedroom. I was looking everywhere for my favorite sweatpants and I couldn't find them. Good morning. Hi, thanks for joining me on 24 on 24. I'm your host, Jess Machado, where we drive home from court and talk about all things Karen Reed, only the trial is over, Karen is free, and I'm in my house looking for, oh, got it, my tablet. Hi. Georgia did not want to go to school today. Oh, this is, hold on, let me. Georgia, are you okay or are you sick? Okay, I'm gonna go do my show and grab coffee and I'll be back. Jack left for school already. Kind of suspect, but I think she has her period, so this was all. And she had her first thing of work. I don't know. Let's see. Hold on. Hi, we're in the house. We have to shut off notifications. Hold on. I just finished on the radio with Phil. We do that on Thursdays. He gave a shout out to the besties and the bunnies. Let me find my wallet and my keys. Let's go get coffee. Jeff, Georgia didn't go to school. I'm just going to run and go grab a coffee. I'm doing my live stream. You'll let the dogs in, right? Are you home today or not? Okay, bye. I love you. Wallet, phone, keys. Do you ever see that song by Adam Sandler where he's like wallet, phone, keys? I do it with Jeff all the time, like wallet, phone, keys. Okay, let's get outside. Sorry. Okay. Oh shit, the car's gonna be cold. When the fuck is this gonna stop? Also, I heard Phil saying something, it's gonna get whiter. What do you mean? Is it gonna snow again? There's kind of like a thin layer of ice. I have obviously a lot of irrational fears, but one is slipping on ice. Julia's dad and I, well, Julia's dad more than me, he was friends with someone on the fire department.
Looks like it's
And he owned a storage facility or he worked at it, but he lived in the house on the property. Big, tall guy, like over 6 feet tall. And his name was Bill. And he had a daughter, maybe 10 or so, married. One day he slipped on ice and he is paralyzed from the waist down. And I just have never been able to get over that. That happened 20 some years ago. And I just unlocked a new fear. That's what happens. I see something happen and I go, oh, that will happen to me. Not can happen, just will happen. Yeah, just his life changed in his 40s, in his prime, and slipped and fell on the ice and is in a wheelchair for life. And so anytime I just am paranoid. When will the irrational fears go away? I'm not really sure. It's cold. I love going on Phil's show. The only problem is it's like short. It's not enough time. I could talk to them forever, and they're so good at what they do. And so Phil and Lou, I believe they're from the K Zone out in Worcester. Unlike some people who don't really know how to ask questions, they always ask thought-provoking questions that I could immediately give a response to. And if I can't, it's something enough that I can pivot from something. Like Phil asked me, I believe, or Lou asked me about like a elected official in New York who was saying something about like, this elected official was calling for people to like push back on cops or ICE or whatever. And like, I don't know that specific story, but I was able to like talk a little bit about like the connection between higher up elected officials and local elections, which we talk about all the time. And so they're just very, very good at what they do. These guys belong on the air. They're thought-provoking. They're great conversationalists, and I'm very lucky to be a part of it. So if you didn't know that, I'm Phil. You see Phil in the chat occasionally. I'm very lucky to join them once a month on Thursday mornings for like a segment just to chit chat and talk. I said, has anything happened with the Savannah Guthrie's mom situation overnight? Because I hadn't had a chance to look, and I'm hearing the answer is no. This is a very perplexing situation. Now, Phil told me that they're looking at the brother-in-law, Savannah Guthrie's sister's boyfriend or husband. Is that true? I don't know what's happening, but all movies about ransoms aside, which I actually said last night on Bunny After Dark, I thought that the scenario about a kid getting abducted and the parents, getting a ransom and all this stuff turned out to be the movie Ransom with Mel Gibson. Who was the wife in that story? Who was the wife in that story in the movie Ransom? Was it the other one that I love? What's her name? The lady from the Thomas Crown Affair, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. What the heck is her name? Renee Russo. Is she the one in Ransom? Do I have that right? Good morning, everybody. I'm seeing people are just jumping in. It's Renee Russo. Yeah, I recognized in real time. There's a moment on the show last night where you can probably see it in my eyes where I was just like, didn't we have another ransom story in recent memory? And I was convinced it was that. And then I was like, oh shit, I'm thinking of the movie. It was the kid with the balloon or something like that. But speaking of Thomas Crown Affair, I'm sorry, but that is like one of my favorite movies of all time. It's Pierce Brosnan and Renee Russo. And it has to do with art theft. But Renee Russo is smoking hot in that movie. The aesthetic, everything about it, the music, I just absolutely love Thomas Crown Affair. It's not, bring it back. I need Thomas Crown Affair to be on like a regular channel on TV on loop all the time. So like when I'm doing something around the house and I catch it on TV, I stop and sit on the couch and I forget what I'm doing and watch it. Such a good movie. Yes, it's very sexy. It appeals to my aesthetic. Her hair. That's it. I'm going to go get my hair professionally done, and I'm just going to bring a picture of Renee Russo in it and say, give me this. Question, why is this car not getting warmer? What on earth is happening? Jeez. It's so cold, you guys. What does this say? 18 degrees. Also, I just want to let everybody know I have the ability to be warmer by using a hat, mittens, or a coat, of which I never use. I don't use coats. I don't use hats. I don't use mittens. Why? Why don't I take the extra step to make myself warm? Coolant level is good. Vehicle just went for an oil change, if you remember. Remember that whole saga where Jeffrey yelled at me because I was going to go cover Aiden's case, and he had scheduled a oil change for this vehicle today with the dealership. So all of the things have been checked, the filters and everything. Maybe, you know what? Honestly, I'm just not used to talking as soon as the car starts. I usually get in the car, I drive around, I drop Georgia off at school. Where is the fur? Fur is hanging up in my foyer. Should have the fur on. That would be obnoxious. That's obnoxious. What are we doing? Make me warmer. Please make me warm. It's so cold my fingertips aren't resonating on the touch screen. Good morning, Ben Rosa. I'm sorry, did somebody just say it's been negative 25 for the past 10 weeks? Where do you live? Good morning, Amber. Fell asleep listening to Jimmy sing this song this pissed. I do have heated seats. I also have a heated, what do you call it? Steering wheel. It's the most luxurious thing in the world. I have a real life of luxury. I said that I'm very mad at myself. Yesterday afternoon, because I work late at night, I do try to take a cat nap during the day on Wednesdays. And I did yesterday. It's always like from 1 o'clock until 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, I have to go pick up Georgia. So if I can stop what I'm doing and lay down in my bed for an hour, I will not hard sleep, but I will, do a soft sleep for an hour off my phone or whatever. And so I laid down on the bed and broke the rule, and I let Quincy lay because he loves to cuddle, and Reagan was on his bed, and I just took a picture of like Quincy on my bed with my new comforter, and the bed is still next to the windows because I can't get rid of that. And I was like, this is such luxury. That's luxury. Taking a nap in my bed with my comforter and my dogs is luxury. This car, this 7-year-old new to me car is luxury. I recognize the day-to-day luxury. I encourage you to recognize what's in your life that is luxurious. Never lose the feeling that a car that starts up every day is luxury. I'm sorry. It is. And I know everybody has, can have fancier cars or whatever, but like, this is luxury. 2026 luxury is a car like this, is a good comforter. This coffee is a luxury. This is middle-class luxury right here. We're already at Society, as you know, because it's around the corner from my house.
Thank you for choosing Society. What can I get for you today?
Good morning. Can I have a large iced white chocolate pistachio made with whole milk?
You want to try my chocolate pistachio with oat milk? Anything else?
That's it.
803.
Thank you. I have a real hankering for something to eat, but they don't have it. I want a croissant. Dunkin' Donuts had on their menu an almond croissant. And I know you would think, oh, that sounds dry, but it didn't. It had like an almond paste on the inside that wasn't sweet. I want that, but they don't have that. And I don't really know anybody else that has that. That's going to be impossible to find. I would like to eat something, but I don't want to eat a bagel. Honestly, I haven't been eating them. And when I do, I take a couple of bites and that's it. It's a waste. I don't know. Waking up every day is a luxury. I do feel that way. Everybody's good. Everybody's okay. Luxury. Car that starts, luxury. Amy's getting her nails done. She gets them done every 2 to 3 weeks. That is a luxury. I went 5 years without a car to save up cash to buy one and got a 2025 Hyundai Venue 6 months. Good for you. I love that. That is amazing. Literally every bakery has almond croissants. They do? Well, we're going to go across the street to Rise Cafe in their drive-thru and we're going to see if they have one, okay? We'll do that. There is a coffee place right across the street. Good morning, Caroline. Random Filth is going to take a shower and put on makeup. Luxury. This is all luxury. We're going to find an almond croissant. Here we go. It's just morning adventures. Not wearing a bra. Good morning, moons over Miami. Oh, I have my fucking tablet. We don't have to have FOMO. Morning, CW. I missed you on the walk today. I know. I was pretty shocked. Georgia really needs to be kind of out of it. She was sick, remember? So she took a day off one time. I think yesterday was a very stressful day for her. To be honest with you, I could have forced her to go in. I could have forced her to go in. I didn't give her any pushback, to be honest with you, because I was already on the air. But I could have given her a little pushback and told her we're going to go to school a little bit late. The problem was I didn't see her text asking if she could stay home until I had just gotten on the air with Phil. Had I seen it a little bit earlier, I would have probably said something like, why are we doing this? What's going on? You know, why? Yeah, I'm surprised at myself too. I mean, that is exactly it. I got up. I'm usually on my phone, right? Looking at news and things. I had an alarm set to get ready for Phil, but I knew I would have been up anyway. Georgia would have come in, but it was Bunny After Dark last night. And so I sleep pretty hard when I go to bed. It's like out cold until I wake up. I'm exhausted. And so I woke up, my alarm went off. I assumed Georgia was getting ready. I dialed into Phil, looked at my phone, and then I was like, what is this? You know what I mean? And so here we are, unfortunately. Let's see. There we go. Perf on the tablet. Your daughter overslept. Non-sick days, mental health days. I'm very strict with that with my kids. I've got to be honest with you. She said that she is tired. Now, yesterday she did have school. She came home from school. She had homework. She was working on homework, got dressed, then had her orientation at her new job. And then she went to dinner with her boyfriend afterwards to celebrate, then came home. While I was doing my show, I knew she went in the shower and then she was in bed. I mean, she was definitely in bed by the time I got off of Bunny After Dark. And so I don't know, maybe she's a little run down. My take and what I do with the kids usually, if they're not sick, it's go to school, try. And if you really can't get through it, then call me and I'll come and get you. 9 times out of 10, they will just stay. You know what I mean? Or like 9 times out of 10, they'll get there and I'll just be like, oh, I can't get you. Just get there. You know what I mean? Like I'm not giving them, but I started my show because I didn't want you guys to wait. And I just didn't want to have that conversation with her while she gets a freebie today, essentially. She gets a freebie, but she's going to pay for it because there's dishes in the sink that were there when I came after Bunny After Dark. Good morning. 803. Did you guys go up in prices?
Large ice white chocolate pistachio with oat.
Yeah.
It's always been 803.
Okay.
It's 50 cents more if you get a different milk.
Okay.
Do you want a straw?
No, can I grab a napkin? Is it possible people aren't charging the extra 50 cents? I'm just going to be honest. I come here every single day. It's never $8. This isn't oat milk. It's supposed to be whole milk.
That's why. It's made with
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
Thank you. I'm not trying to be a pain in the ass, right? Like that. It's never been $8. No, it wasn't 803. It's always seven something. But they made it with oat milk, not whole milk. I almost just drank a latte with oat milk. Did I say oat milk? I couldn't have said. I don't listen. I'm sorry, but in my mind, $7 and change is acceptable. $8 and change is not. I just know. I mean, I look at my bank account. I see it all the time. It's 750 something or 780. I don't know. Shit. And now I've got to look at the one made with oat milk on the other side of the on the glass. I did say whole milk. I would never say oat milk. Caca. Caca. Josie, $9.23 well spent. Good morning, Ben Rosa. Good morning. Just so you know, Phil on his show today said, good morning, Ben Rosa. He's like, and I know a lot of my listeners won't get it, but and it was like, son of a bitch. Good morning, Ben Rosa is now being said on Worcester radio stations. Oh, a car is going by with a plate on it. Looks like it's a repo. I've been there. I have been there. You'll get through it. I could have helped you get out of that. First of all, it's not that I don't mind trying new things. That would be okay. I am a creature of habit. And do you know what this show would be like? However lame it already is, that I'm going to get that and I'm going to drive around bitching and complaining about the taste of oat milk. We don't want that. No, thank you. I'm watching them. Ben Rosa is famous. Phil was at Aiden's. Here you go. Sorry.
Did you want the 50 cents back on your card?
I don't want the 50 cents back on my card. Yes. It's more important that I got the right drink. Thank you so much. You too. I can't be that petty of a bitch. I don't want the extra 50 cents, right? Just keep it. You go ahead. I'm rich now. I work for a living on YouTube. I get paid residuals from advertisers who find my words and my work appealing to their brand. Keep the 50 cents. It's below me now. Sorry, poors. How am I on a weight loss journey and drink this shit? Okay, we're going to say this again for the last time. This beverage makes sure I go to the bathroom every day. If you are not a menopausal woman, this may not resonate with you. By the way, this coffee sucks. Fuck you guys. It's not good. Listen, 2025 was the straight raw dogging menopausal journey that I was on, okay? Nobody talks to you. Nobody tells you, oh, at this age you may go through menopause or premenopause or perimenopause. Perimenopause makes it sound so sweet and so nice. I never had that. I just was one day woken up by menopause, and that affects my tum-tum, okay? And my tummy started to have problems. My intestines. I was constipated. I was so constipated, I went to the walk-in clinic. I went and said, I have pains. Do I have cancer? And they were like, you have poo. You're constipated. And I was like, what is that? What does that mean? So then, in an attempt to fix that problem, I went and started taking fiber gummies because those are fun. Those taste yummy. Let's take a bunch of those. Eat as many as you can. Sure. And then what happens? I didn't drink water, right? Apparently you have to drink water, and I don't drink a lot of water. I don't drink a lot of anything, actually. Okay? Except this fucking coffee and Red Bull. And so what happened? All of those gummies and all of those things, I was in so much pain, I almost died. And I went to the doctor, the emergency room, and they were like, oh my God, you are severely constipated. And I was like, oh, awesome. Love that for me. So you know what we do every day? We get one of these coffees, which is made with probably like fucking a half a cup of olive oil, and it runs right through my system. And usually by the time I'm done with this, I go to the bathroom and everything is cleared out of my stomach and I can start my day. I don't care how many calories are in this. Did they just give me the oat milk one? Because this has a weird, odd taste. God, I'm so angry about that. God. Listen, I am just telling you, I'm not snacking at home. I'm eating different meals from my family. I'm currently making myself like a hummus snack plate. It's hummus and carrots, cucumbers, cheese. For lunch, I am eating tuna with mayo and pickles and cheese on a plate. Just please let me. Jessica, are you still working on text replies? Well, fun problem here. There's hundreds of texts. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of text messages. I opened all of them. That, at a minimum, I opened every text and I read them all. There are new people texting me. Good morning to all of you. We've made mistakes. I want to connect with people. I want to talk to people. If you were one of the people that texted me right from the beginning, we probably still text each other. But there's a lot of you who I said, sure, call me, text me. I'm ghosting you. How? Here's the problem. I could just do a simple, like, generic reply, but I feel like I'm not doing right by you. So I need to have a conversation with you. But how do I have a conversation with hundreds of people on text messages? I fucked up. There's just no doubt about it. I fucked up. I shouldn't be saying call me. I shouldn't be saying text me. How am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? Unless I do a whole show of just reading the text and responding to them live. I just thought about that in real time. Maybe that's it. Maybe we just do don't do emails either. They get buried. I don't know. It's very overwhelming. The emails, I read them. And then I just read the next one and then the next one and then the next one. And then I never respond. I don't know. I don't know how to handle it. I don't know how to handle this. We have no boundaries. There are no boundaries here. No boundaries. Phil introduced me this morning on his show, and he's like, Jess is a new type of journalist and independent entertainer and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you were on the air yesterday for about 8 hours. And I was like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah. And I did like a 3 hour, or how long was my show yesterday morning? 3 hours? Did we do a 4 hour 24 on 24 yesterday? That can't be right. Did we? Oh, I'm driving. I would have to look at my tablet. And then I did a 4 hour show last night. Oh my God. That was an 8 hour day of being on the interwebs. Yeah, but it's worth it. It's Wednesdays. Little reflection time. Oh my God, get out of the street. The streets are narrow. Don't walk here with your child. What are you fucking doing? Idiot. Phil, you see Phil in the chat in the mornings? Phil, I don't know how to say his last name. Deshant. I don't know how to say it. It's Phil. But some of you may recognize Phil. He would come to the Karen Reed trial. He's gigantic, tall, handsome fellow with long hair, big arms. He works out every day. He's Fitness Phil. He was at Aiden Carney's hearing recently. He was, and I was not. I love Phil. Also, Phil has a little bit of a tan, and I'm going to tell you something. It's he goes tanning at the gym. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. It's not like he's like one of those like big muscle guys with like the orange tans. He's got a sun-kissed tan, and everybody looks better with a tan, myself included. And maybe that's what's wrong with the world right now. We are all pasty white and dry, and we need tans. Who's everybody saying hello to? GTL. Gym, tan, laundry. A tan does wonders. I am currently in a bronzing era. I don't know how to say it. I don't know. I've been using a bronzer that Lizzie Fabulous, who's in the chat sometimes, she sent me. And on camera, it looks great. But in real life, I don't know if it needs some sort of setting spray. It's a little too cakey for me. I like a good gel bronzer, but it's very hard to find a gel bronzer that doesn't have sparkle in it. I just want a brown gel bronzer, because bronzers have a tendency to like tighten up your face, which I like. I'm in a weird era with makeup right now since Julia moved out, as you know. I dyed my hair yesterday. Box dyed. We're getting it, the end will justify the means. We're gonna work with this, and I don't know. I'm all over the place right now. I didn't love Bunny After Dark last night. I didn't love Bunny After Dark. I know I'm my own worst critic. I know that. Oh, Lauren Shea is in the chat. Lauren Shea has the best tan of all time, year round. I don't know what she does. Lauren also has the best nails a human can ever have. I don't know how to explain it. Her nail beds, I don't even know. Like, everybody has a gift from the Lord, and Lauren's is style and nails. She's just got good nails. I know I'm my own worst critic. I don't know what it is that made me not like Bunny After Dark last night. And at the end, I was saying it, and people were like, no, we had a great show. You know, Kane was funny and blah, 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 blah. I don't know what made me not like it. It's not, I don't know. Why are you parked? Why are you parked like this? You could fucking move. Fuck you. No, fuck. Ugh. He just looked at me and like lifted his head and started saying something like, what? Like, you're parked in the middle of the road. You're forcing me to go on the side. There's a divot over here. My heart, just get out of here. Get out of here. Oh, the river's frozen again. Great. I need to smack myself out of this right now. I just want to show you the river. Hold on.
This is where I live, man. Luxury. Luxury. We love a good frozen river. Is it okay? So let's talk about a couple of things. Show is fine. I'm gonna rewatch it. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna look at it. I wonder if I started the show off and I don't like. Okay, Jimmy came on as my guest, right? Jimmy's lighting and camera was perfection, and here I am with this new laptop, and it looks terrible. It looks fuzzy. It's not clear. It's just, I fucking hated it. I felt insecure, and so when I feel insecure, I'm not confident, and I felt like I wasn't producing a good product, and it looked lame, and I can't have that anymore. I can't have that anymore. I am using my laptop camera, but if I have to go and buy another camera, we're going to buy another camera. If we need a better microphone, we're getting a better. I don't care. This is what the money is for. So we go spend it. I haven't spent any of it. I paid all my bills. I barely bought anything. If I'm going to go, we're just got to do it. I can't have that anymore. The coloring, the lighting, the back and forth bullshit. Fuck crap. So for me, just seeing myself on the screen and it looking like caca was enough for me. So just bah. And it affected my whole show. Now, nothing for nothing, but I think I also had underlying anxiety that both my guests were paying to stay in hotel rooms and they were fulfilling their obligations to be on my show. I felt guilty. I don't want you here. Go be in your hotel. Go take your wonderful shower in your very nice shower. Jimmy, go fuck your girlfriend, Kane. I don't want you. I felt guilt. I felt not confident that we were doing this right. So it was all like the undertone of all of it. And then, you know, I wanted to basically put Kane out there one more time so we could just make sure we're all set. We got Kane. We talked about this stuff or whatever. And Menners now is basically saying, so there is a little confusion. He is still part of the Minifan network. Menners doesn't have that power. Menners can't, quote unquote, fire him from his position. He can do a show under the Minifan network, and Menners can't stop it. What Menners is telling him now, as a punishment for coming on my show, and I don't know, saying nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that Phil hasn't said before. Kane can't use his StreamYard to get in and do the network. So apparently he has, like, I don't know if he has the login or whatever, but like Menners controls when the shows go on using his StreamYard account. So all of these other people have to bow down and kiss Menners' fucking nubby hands to get a show on or whatever. And now he's telling him he can't do that anymore. He's got to go through another guy, which, you know, is harder for Kane. And I just hate that. Like, take these people out of the KMS world. Like, fuck you, Menners. You're such a weirdo. Like, this weird fucking power trip you're on, it's just, I don't know. it just like rubs me the wrong way, you know? Just annoyed by it. I almost feel like I want to cut Kane free of this, and by the way, which was facilitated by Menners, and just say, you know what, Kane, go do your show. We love you. Thanks for coming on, and let him go. But I feel like if we do that, that Menners is still going to fucking be a dick to him. I don't know. I have to talk to Kane, but I'm very sad about that. Like, you set us up to do a show together, and now because it's working out and it's going well and everybody fucking loves him, now you fucking want to punish him? You're a fucking asshole, Menners. There's just no other way around it. And just for fucking good measure, so are you, fucking Pat Ford. Fuck you. Ugh. Just annoyed. Anyway, there's that. I just felt kind of like that underlying guilt that these guys were on my show. It didn't feel... maybe a little insecure. Maybe we saw little shimmers of insecurity, but I was basically like, oh, like they don't really want to be here. They want to be where they are and doing their thing. And so I felt guilt. River down here is frozen as well. There's another car down here. I don't even see a person in it. I guess we'll lock our doors. All right. No, Jimmy wasn't. Jimmy definitely didn't seem. Why am I muffled? Wait. This happened yesterday. Why? Is it still muffled? Oh, maybe. Hold on.
I think it did connect to my Wi-Fi in the car. I think it connected to my it did when I switched my camera. I didn't know. I was driving. It was because when I switched my camera on, it accessed my Bluetooth in the car. Ugh, the worst. Okay, we're better. All right. Here, you back in your cradle. No, I know. It's just that is probably true. Anyway, I'm hypercritical of the show yesterday. I have to go back and I have to watch it. I'm just not sure. Let's do this. Good morning. Hi. See, what do we... Wait, is this... I didn't wash my face last night. Do I still have some bronzer on? I assure you, I'm not really that orange in real life. See, for some reason it's looking that way when I'm over here, but the sky is so blue here. All right. Hi. Feel better. I can talk to you.
So you're saying, are my views going down? I have criticized every show yesterday. Do you know that Jimmy called me and he said he took notes during one of my shows and he said that I was criticizing myself and I did it 3 times in one show. Now somebody else is saying that and pointing it out. So my views are the same. Nothing's changed. I haven't lost any viewership. I've gone up like per usual. Everything's just, kind of like going. I am feeling like a little. I have done it. She's still in Puerto Rico. The seagulls flew by. I normally do wash my face before bed, but it was bunny after dark last night. And by the time I got done eating my quesadilla explosion salad, listen, let's back it up for a second. I have been very self-deprecating and critical lately. Very. I do not know what is at the root of that. I do not know what is causing me to act like that. I don't know why I am talking more like that. I also now understand that people are picking up on that and that energy is not being well received. I don't know. I have to figure it out. Who's this person on the car on the side of me? I don't know. I don't know what's wrong. Why am I in this funk? I don't know why I'm feeling that way. I don't know. How do I fix that? Why am I letting that stuff creep into my head? Why am I feeling like a little insecure? Why am I feeling like, why do I not have my normal attitude, which is just like, fucking, it is what it is, and that's it? I have no idea. I don't know the answer to that. I'm willing to take this parking lot is fucking hopping right now. There's a car on the side of me. There's a car pulling in behind me. There's another car over there. My biggest fear is that somebody is going to. The seagulls are flying. There's a lot going. This guy got out of his car. Wait, is this guy meeting this girl? Stand by. Wait, we might have a rendezvous. No, she left. She just turned in and she left. You've reached a higher plateau and you're afraid to lose it. It's understandable. That's kind of it. That is kind of it. There's also another underlying thing, right? February is a smaller month than January. In my mind, my numbers are going to be less. Numbers are getting to me. Numbers, metrics, money are getting to me. I have a fear that I'm not going to be successful. I have a fear that it's not going to be sustainable. I have a fear that it's going to get boring. I have a fear that I'm going to make a mistake. I have a fear that I've had 2 wonderful months of this and that it's all going to get taken away. I have a fear of getting canceled. I have like the crippling fear that I have shared my like success and that it's all going to get ripped and taken away from me. And so I'm critical. It's stunting my growth. It's making me insecure. It's palpable through my conversations. I have to figure out how to get it out of my head. Yes, those are all of the things that I'm thinking. All of those things are exactly how I'm thinking. Yes, all of those things. I'm never like, how can I be better? How can I be funnier? How can I do, like, first of all, so maybe the fucking montage is part of it. Maybe the montage is a part of it. I put together this montage last night. If you didn't watch it, I'm going to put it out today or unprivate it. But like, I've had some really fucking funny moments over the past 6 months. Am I ever going to have funny moments like that again? Like, where can I top Beaver Moon Ceremony? Can I top the call to Pete McNeely? can I top, how can I top or even sustain that? I'm not that funny. You know what I mean? It's getting to me. We have to shut the camera off in a second. Very stressed. And there's also like no playbook for this. There's no like there's Jimmy, but like what the fuck? Jimmy goes away for days at a time. He starts his shows late. Like there's nobody to watch, there's nobody to teach, there's nobody to like tell you what to do. But it's also at the same time, it's my job. So it can't be like very laissez-faire. It can't be like casual. It has to be like it's my job. Like for a regular job, you have a job. Like we all have jobs. So it's just this weird feeling like maybe it's just February. Maybe February sucks overall and just I guess I'm overthinking it, but so February starts, right? And I look at the month and I'm like, okay, like here are the shows I have planned. I always want my metrics to be the same. I want the money to be the same. The money is not showing the same way it usually does in the beginning of the month because it's kind of like a slow start or whatever. And I'm like, okay, like we've always said, like it's going to ebb and flow. It can't always be the same, right? But like at the same time, I need it to? Like I need to, this needs to work. It needs to be successful. And so like I did the Disney villain thing, right? So I think I thought of it here on the show in the morning. And I was like, oh, we should rank our Disney villains. Jimmy was listening and he was like, oh, I want to do that. And then I sat down to actually like start putting it together and it didn't even feel right. And I was like, I want to scrap it. I don't like it. But then I knew I had Jimmy on and I couldn't get into my creative mind with it. I couldn't figure out how I wanted it. And I recognized like, I can't plan things. The best moments of this show and the bunny show and a Saturday show are the impromptu things. That's where I'm most creative. That's where I'm better and the best. And any type of like cultivation and creation of it in the beginning doesn't work. It doesn't work. It has to be spontaneous, I guess. And so last night, like the Disney thing fell flat and Jimmy was like, oh, I've got the villain things. And his thing is hysterical. But then I brought him over to mine and I was like, it was my fucking idea. I didn't have anything. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, it sucked. It sucked. Does that make sense? I can read you. YouTube changes how much you get paid for ads as the seasons change. They will probably be ups and downs, and they have nothing to do with your content. Do they? But for seasons? I didn't know that. That would make sense. That makes me feel better. Be gentle with yourself? Absolutely not. No. Society, noun, a voluntary association of individuals from a common ends, especially an organized group working together or periodically meeting because of common interests, beliefs, and profession. We are technically a society. This show could be society. Could be called that. Gentle, what's that? I have no idea. No, we have no. The oat the oat milk filled me with self-doubt. What is this man doing? He's standing outside of his car. I'm dying to know what he's doing. He's smoking a ciggy, but he's standing outside of the car in 18-degree weather. Shit, why didn't somebody tell me to go across the street and look for the almond croissant? I said I was going to do it and I didn't. I just drove away. Oh, because I was angry about the oat milk. What's this guy doing? So I guess like my question is, what brings you down to the waterfront in Somerset on a Thursday morning at 8:35 a.m. to stand outside and smoke a cigarette? I don't know. Also, I need to do sun salutations. Probably doesn't smoke in his car. Last night's Bunny After Dark was great. I love that you both had different ideas of the villain thing. He had cards in hand. Did you guys see he made an AI picture of me and Brian at prom? I'm dead. Just smoking a ciggy. I'm trying too hard. You like it when you that is also accurate. That's also accurate. It feels when I'm trying too hard, I'm trying to like be something, it doesn't feel right. And I know that you know it doesn't feel right. I know what everybody is here. It's got to be this is better. A skit that I'm cultivating or whatever. Like, keep in mind, Horizon Social Chart was born right there in the moment. The puppet show, right there in the moment. The Beaver Moon ceremony, right there in the moment. The Peter McNeely thing, right there in the moment. And every single time we have tried to recreate those, they're never as good as the OG. Because in my mind, it's not real, it's not authentic. We need to revisit the Horizon Social Chart. I have questions. I don't even know why I'm sitting here, and I don't even need to wonder. Did 5150 come back? We created a whole ass fucking nickname that somebody is literally known for. I'm just waiting for this guy to go back in his car. Like, what's he doing? It's a long ciggy. Jeff would have ripped through that in like 30 seconds already. Did anything happen with 5150? I'm talking to you, but I'm watching him. Did anything happen? We have new players to add. $51.50 is back and she is so gross. What did she do? By the way, Kane sent me a text message last night and he said, I don't understand what happened, but his Venmo was insane. And I said, I felt like for 1 second, like, did I whore out my audience to Kane, to Venmo Kane? Like, it was like, no, let me subsidize your birthday celebrations. Here's my audience. They're very, very generous. I kind of felt like that for a little bit. I was kind of like, did I do something wrong here? But it was his birthday, and we all know how he feels about the Venmos. Montante, Kim's boyfriend, said something like, oh, don't forget to put his Venmo up. I was wondering if that was a setup. I was already going to do that anyway. It's his birthday. It was his birthday. But turns out you guys sent him $1,100. Kane got $1,100 in his Venmo last night. And number one, it made me so, I sent him $100. I sent him $100 for his birthday, and he's great. He's a great guest, and he's just great. But the bestie sent $1,000, and I was so proud of them. I was so proud. You guys are so generous. And I was like, look at Kane. Like, he's never experienced anything like that in his life and deserved it. Deserved it. Menners could never. Pat Ford could never. I'd send Pat Ford $100 for a plane ticket to take him the fuck out of here and never come back. Like, if there was a way where I could pay Pat Ford to never exist again, I would Venmo on that. But just the generosity of everybody last night sending him was just wonderful, and he's so genuine about it and like deserving of it. And I mean, let's not get into the habit of doing that again, but a nice one-time birthday celebration for him while he was out in Providence with his girlfriend. They have a blended family, they work hard. Like, I just love that for them. I love it for him. I love it for his girlfriend. I don't know, the bunnies and besties are just. And Kane does what he does for free. Correct. Yeah, I just love that. That's going to go right up Menner's ass. Our work here is done. Oh, I was just going to say something else. Oh, Um, we I was shook last night when there's another truck coming down here. This place is fucking jam in the summer. So, it's not like this. We would be in a very different scenario in the summer. There are many, many people down here. We can fish down here. People can fish down here. It gets crazy. There's trailers, there's well, as you know, I think some of you saw me one time like watching boats coming in and out of the water. It's crazy. Anyway, so backing up, I was shook when Kane said about him getting a divorce and his ex-wife and the drug thing and the hair follicle testing. And so I I was shook, to be honest with you. Um, I think my husband is probably pretty close to wanting to like tell his story. Um, but it is that particular part of it was eerily similar. When I met my husband, he had just gone through a terrible, terrible divorce. And so my husband met a girl, and she's from a very Portuguese family, and my husband is from a very Portuguese family. So I think on both sides of that marriage, somebody was born in Portugal or the Azores. So we're talking like no generations removed, right? And so if you're Portuguese, you understand what I'm talking about, like that Portuguese. I am not that Portuguese, but my husband, they're Portuguese, and her family is Portuguese. And so there is a culture of these Portuguese kids in my husband's generation. And my husband is, 7.5 years, he's 43. And I think she's even a little younger than him, is to get married early, right? You get married early. And maybe back in the day, that is a successful thing, but there's pressure, in particular, my husband's family, for him and his cousins to get married very early. And then you go and you get a mortgage, and then you're in a situation and you might not, it might not be the right one. So my husband got married very young, and very soon after got pregnant. And this is so many years ago. Knowing my husband now, his maturity level today obviously evolved. He's still not quite where he needs to be. So I can't imagine my husband at 23. Like, I just can't imagine what he was like back then. You know what I mean? And not being really ready for all of the things in life or whatever. Um and so my husband and his wife got married and had a son, and very shortly after they got married, my husband became estranged from his family. And you know my version of what I've heard, and I've heard all sides from all parties, my husband's ex-wife really did not get along with my husband's mother, and there was conflict. And I remember my husband saying that their first Christmas together, they went to Christmas together, him and her. And then the second Christmas, they had the baby and they went together. The third Christmas, she didn't go. She was like, "You go with the child." And she wasn't going to go. And by the next Christmas, she was like, "He's not going. If you go, it's a problem." And so it was slowly over time got to the point where my husband had zero communication with anybody in his family. And my husband chose his wife and his child over his family. And that was that. And then his wife left him in a very extraordinary circumstance. They obviously, things hadn't been good. There was stress, and I won't get into the specifics or whatever, but my husband basically left one day to go connect with his family. He actually reached out and went and met with the family. I think things were just so bad and he was trying to connect with people, and he went out and he went to go connect with family members, and he was out for hours meeting with his cousin and his uncle. And when he came home, his wife and his child were gone, not in the house at night. And he actually never lived with them again. And through, you know, it was a pretty crazy situation because it basically triggered a whole set of events that I've learned are also very common for men in these situations. It's very unlike anything I've ever experienced. As you know, like, I'm not with George's dad. I'm not with Jack and George's dad. We had very different circumstances. And part of me couldn't even really believe. Like, I believe me, I know family court is a thing. I know that things are bad for people who get divorces, like, obviously. But I'm not really sure I really understood how bad they could get or how bad they could be. And because it wasn't that way for me. Like, Ron and I went to court one time, and that was to just put our order in place, and we never revisited it. We never went back to court. Jack and George's dad, it took a little bit of tweaking, but we didn't have attorneys. We made the decisions together. We talked it out, and it was never contentious. I mean, if there was, it was times when he wasn't paying child support and things like that, but we had no problems with custody or any of those things. I've always was under the notion that my children should see their dads as often as they possibly could, right? Just because we weren't in a relationship anymore, I still had to preserve the relationship with my children and their dad. It just was very unnatural for me that some people weren't like that. And so when Kane said about the hair follicle thing, I was like, what? So my husband had told me when I met him, like, when I met my husband, he told me he had just gone through a really terrible divorce, and it was traumatic, and, he didn't want to date. And I was like, well, I want to hear all about that. Like, what? Let's chat. Tell me all about it. So, like, when we would go out, my husband and I would go out to restaurants or bars, and we would just sit and we would talk, and he would tell me everything. We would talk about everything. And he said that, his wife accused him of, which is crazy now because in Massachusetts, weed is legal. But back then, she accused him of smoking weed and doing drugs, and went to court and basically was like, I want, him tested and drugs and blah, 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 blah. And so the same thing that Kane talked about last night happened to my husband. He had to get a hair follicle test. He tested positive for weed, instantly lost his child for 3 months. And during those 3 months, had to go and pay for a guardian ad litem, which was like a third party person to come and observe him be a parent in a space that wasn't his home, in a center, in a room. He would go after work and go and see his kid for a couple hours in a room with other people, and observe him with his kid. I didn't even know him back then, and that is just like, it's tough. Now he reconnected with his family. He moved back in with his parents. They lost their house. She moved in with her parents temporarily, and then they got her a condo, and so she had a place. My husband's living with his parents downstairs, and didn't have any money, didn't have a savings account, didn't have anything, because divorce and all this stuff like that. I mean, he walked away with a car that he had to pay outright, right? His parents paid for that. His parents paid for an attorney who was not a good attorney, and was a friend of the family or something or whatever. And walks out of that situation after, 3 months of not seeing his kid, paying a guardian ad litem, having to prove that he's a good dad, all of this fucking bullshit, right? And gets out of it with the bare minimum of a visitation schedule with his child. And then fast forward, a year later, he meets me and we start dating. And I'm like, what is this schedule? Like, what, what is this schedule? You see your child, from 3 to 6 p.m. on a Monday, from 3 to 6 p.m. on a Thursday, and then you get them Friday at like 6, and then you sleep over, and then you got to give them back the next. Like, what is this? And there's no flexibility. Like, it is on. And my husband was driving 30 minutes to go get his son. So his time starts at 3. He'd have to drive 30 minutes to get him. And then the last 30 minutes of the 3 to 6 mark was in the car driving, had to be there for. He was set up for failure because you cannot connect. Everything was always. And what's crazy is when I met my husband, one of the times I met him, the first time I met him, the second time I met him at a party that his friend brought him to a party. The second time I met him, he was at the dollar store and he was with his son, and he was in the toy aisle of the dollar store, and he was letting him pick out a toy in the dollar store, right? And it was his day that he had visitation with him. And once I got in a relationship with my husband, I recognized a pattern with my husband of every time he got his son, it involved buying toys or getting special things or whatever. And also my husband's family would do the same thing. So whenever they saw him, they would take him to Toys R Us and toys and taking him places and all of these things. And I would encourage my husband to not do that. Okay? Because for me as a parent, we don't work around stuff. We don't work around toys. We don't work around buying things. We're not materialistic. And I would encourage my husband to recognize that the value is in the time, in the connection. Like, we're going to play on the floor. We're going to build a fort. We're going to the library. We're going to the park. We're going to do regular, consistent behaviors that don't surround buying a toy. And I will tell you that was very difficult to get not only my husband, but also his son out of the habit of going and getting toys every single solitary time he picked him up. And I was like, it's not benefiting him. And eventually dollar store toys are not going to be dollar store toys anymore. It's going to be a lot more like need, you know what I mean? And you can't set him up for that, and you can't set yourself up for that. And so, my husband and I blending our families, it made a lot of sense to him because I was so family oriented. I was a stay-at-home mom. So I was able to like really help, but it was a very different environment than what I think he was used to raising a child. It was very different. It wasn't involving stuff. Vacations were local. It was, do you know what I mean? So when his son got to kindergarten or first grade, I started to say that the schedule was not conducive to the child because he wasn't in preschool anymore. He was going to school. And so this didn't work. This Mondays, Thursdays, going home on Fridays. And also, nothing for nothing, but my husband only had one overnight with his child, which it didn't make sense. You know what I mean? And so I encouraged my husband to revisit the schedule. And by the way, there's things I'm leaving out, but there was like, we were getting married and we wanted, to keep him for the night that we got married. And his ex-wife was very difficult. There was no flexibility whatsoever. The best way I can explain that is a minute after drop off time, if the child was not with her, there was the threat to call the police, like that kind of thing, right? And you're talking to somebody who, if Jason was running late, an hour late, it was like, whatever, it's okay. Like, don't cause stress for the kids, like, whatever. Just very different styles that clashed. And so I eventually encouraged my husband to go back to court and change this schedule. And his parents were going to have to be the ones to pay for it, for the attorney. We didn't have $10,000 to go back to court, but I did promise that if we did, and they assisted with that, that I would make sure, like, I worked with the attorney. As you can imagine, every single solitary thing I do, I was like, I'm going all in on this, right? So I like researched everything. I worked with his attorneys. We pulled 3 different options of schedules together so that he could present them to her attorney to, like, make sure that there were options that were best for everybody. And it was really about, like, consistency. And we I will never forget forget the day. And first of all, there's multiple court cases, multiple days going back and forth. And ultimately, everything that we asked for, we got. And I put so much care and thought into that. And I'll never forget, like, my husband and I leaving court, almost like couldn't even speak because we couldn't believe, like, the things that had happened to get to that point. My husband had temporary restraining orders put on him. My husband lost his child temporarily multiple times leading up to that. And when we got to court, we had a wonderful attorney who's a Army veteran, I believe, or Marine veteran, who advocated for fathers' rights. He's wonderful. And the way he put this together and spoke to the judge, and the judge was so wonderful and understanding that everything that we presented just made sense. So, for example, like, we were like, for a school age child on a Monday to go for 3 hours and then go back to a parent's house, and then on Thursday for 3, that's crazy. So we streamlined it. We streamlined the schedule so that we had his son Thursday, Friday, and Saturday all together. And we also changed things, like, if it's your turn to pick up the child, you pick up. If you're picking up the child for your time, she picked up. So she was now driving a half hour away to come and pick up the child for her time. So that just time, when it ended at 6 p.m., that last half hour wasn't spent in the car. That the time started at 6 p.m. for his mom by her picking him up, right? We had no vacation time with him. We had 1 week in the year, and it was the Monday through the Friday. Our time was Saturday, but by 6 p.m. on Saturday, we had to give him back. So we were limited on vacation time. So we changed that. We split school vacations, because when he was on school vacation, all of that time went to the mom. And so why? We should split the vacations. They fought that. They didn't want that. So I would look at it and go, okay, well, it's February vacation, there's no school. He's with mom. It's April vacation, there's no school, he's with mom. Well, why can't he be with dad? Why can't we split these why can't we split these vacations? They opposed that. They didn't want that. My son and daughter were playing sports. Jeff wanted his son to play sports. She would not take him to any sports on her time, which ultimately made it impossible for him to join sports. It's funny, when you get in front of a judge looks at it and is like, well, do you think that your child should play sports if he wants to? And, she responds, yes. And the judge is like, well, then you need to bring him to those sports on your time. We had to fight for that in court. We had to fight for that in court. we wanted daily phone calls to check in, just to say goodnight. We had to fight for that. We had to fight for the vacation time. We had to fight for access to when he was going to the doctor. We found out through a third party that his son had gone to the emergency room. And we didn't know. My husband was never called and never told that he had been in the emergency room twice. Um, my husband's son was baptized and my husband was never told. We talked about that in court. We said, he was baptized and my husband was never informed that his son was being baptized. And so we put in our agreement that if anything religious of substance was happening, that my husband was not only notified, but that he was allowed to attend. And they fought that. And, his son got his first communion and my husband and I were there, but we weren't for his baptism. My husband's son was in a preschool and my husband didn't know where it was. He didn't know where it was. And my husband was so beaten down over it. And I saw some of that with Kane last night. He was so beaten down and he didn't have it in him to fight. And any fighting he thought was going to jeopardize and him losing his son. And it was just it was so sensitive. It's what do? Do you talk about it? Do you fight it? What happens? And I was we fight. He's your child. Do we not fight for this? And I'm leaving out so much, but I remember when my husband was telling me that, obviously I was with my husband and his son was young, right? Very young, 2.5. And I said, what do you mean you don't know what preschool your child is in? And he was like, I don't know where he is. And I said, Jeffrey, please send her an email and say, I would like to know where my son is. And he texted her and I can still read it the day is long. It was unless you're willing to pay for half of the childcare, I'm not telling you where he is. And that's when I was, and this is very early on, I was like, okay, all right, why would you not tell? Why would you not tell, your ex-husband where your child is in daycare simply because of the money situation? That's crazy. And no court would ever allow that. And so I remember going, well, I'm going to find out where he goes to childcare. This is how it started. I called all of the childcare facilities in the area and started asking if there was a child by that name there, and they would never tell me. And so I drove around in the mornings early and found out where they went. I looked for her car and saw it. Actually, I saw a car in the afternoon on where I figured it out. It was an afternoon one. And so once we figured it out, my husband and I went there, and my husband was like, this is my son. This is my court order. I have joint legal custody of my child. And I had to kind of coach my husband on this and say, this is information you should already be given, but if you can't get it the right way, you're legally allowed to get this information. And they were wonderful. We learned that they were told that Alex didn't have a dad. He didn't have a dad. And they were surprised that Jeff was there, that he had a dad. There was a father, son, or a parent Christmas thing at this preschool, and she had her boyfriend or fiance go, right? Never told my husband about it. And it was basically setting this child up at a very young age to feel like his dad wasn't present, wasn't available, wasn't going to be around. And I saw that very early on, and I was fiercely protective of my husband in that situation. I remember them, I remember asking to see his file, and my husband got access to his file, and his name was not on it, and the emergency contact was her boyfriend or her fiance. And I was like, what the fuck are we up against here? What is going on? And in some respects, my husband's laid back approach to it, because very early on, my husband would say, I've lost my son once, I'm not losing him again. And so he never wanted to go up against, because he was fearful that he was going to lose his son. That's that fear reverberated through pretty much everything for years. He didn't want to push anything. He was scared. And I'm the opposite, which is like, this isn't how it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be that way. Right. And I can't even really tell what this looks like. Sorry. Like, that's not how it's supposed to be. And so there's so many examples. I couldn't even give you there's so many examples. Like, so finally, his time at that school is coming to an end. And we are aware, only because of our own independent communication with the preschool, that he's graduating. And so, Jeff is communicating with his ex-wife and saying, like, I would like to attend his graduation from this preschool program. They called the police. She called the police and spoke with the detective, and basically said she didn't want him there. He hadn't been there for all the preschool time, and she didn't want him there. And her attorney was involved, and I don't think we had the attorney yet. And so the police called and were like, she doesn't want you there. It's going to be a problem. And my husband, of course, his first instinct was like, oh, okay. And I was like, hold on a second. I was like, this is his child. We have legal documents that say this is his child. He has joint legal custody and joint physical custody. He has what law is being broken by my husband attending a graduation ceremony? We called the school and we were like, can he attend? And they were like, yes, of course. And they tried to stop and scare my husband into not going. And I was like, either you can do that or you can't. And, but I don't know. I think you should go. I think you should be there. And so the cops were like, you can go, and I was like, why are we even dealing with police? This is crazy. So we went. And the graduation ceremony, this is preschool. The graduation ceremony is happening outside. Her whole family is off on one side. My husband and I believe his mother came with us. We're sitting in the back. We weren't intrusive, crazy stuff, but like head down, like just, whatever, not waving to him. I took some pictures of him. And then as soon as they graduated, they were supposed to move off to the side for like the party, for the cake and for all of these things. And I had already determined we were not staying. Let's just go give him a hug, take a picture with him and bounce. And we watched her take him away. He did not get to stay. She took him right after the ceremony in the car and left. So she was so worried about my husband participating or being a part of it that she took him and left. And I was like, what is happening here? And then it was just like, now, did we fuck up? Like, because we were there, he missed out. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of thoughts. We felt like we had to fight so hard to get to that, just to watch him graduate. Was it worth it? I don't know. I don't think I could have ever predicted that that's how it could. At that point, could I have predicted how it was going to go? No. But I remember my husband like breaking down afterwards, and he was so upset. And I was like, there's so much of this, Jeff, that like has nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And so that's the kind of stuff that we were dealing with all the time, all the time. I remember anytime there was a pickup or a drop off, if his son had any toy in his hand from us, we were always like, and that's how I parented my kids. You can take whatever you want from my house to dad's house. If it comes back, it comes back. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't care. She would take stuffed animals out of his hand. Like we would drop him off. She'd come to the car. She'd get him. She'd take him out of his car seat. And if he's holding a stuffed animal, she'd take it out of his hands and throw it in the car and close the door. And sometimes he would cry. And I would be like, just fucking let him take it. And she wouldn't let him take it in. And as he got older, it got a little bit harder because now it's like electronics, and he had like a Nintendo DS, and he got it for his birthday, and he is so delicate, but he was like, I want to play with it at home. And he didn't have one at home. This is always part of it. Eventually he would. Whatever we would get, she would get eventually. But we get it because Jack was a little bit older. So he was always like techie and video gamey ahead of things. And so, he got this Nintendo DS for his birthday. And he was little. And he was like, I want to keep playing it. Like a regular normal kid would. He wanted to keep playing it. And Jeff was like, dude, you can't bring it home. And he was upset. He was crying. I want to bring it home. Why can't I bring it home? And I was like, it's not going to work out. And Jeff got in his mind. He's like, fuck it. If my son wants to take it home with them, let him take it home with them. Let them be the ones to say that he can't, right? Because we had been acclimated to this. Like, buddy, you can't bring it home. It's got to stay here. It'll be here for you when you come back, like whatever. But on this particular day, Jeff was like, let him take it. So they come to pick him up, and I recorded it because I had a feeling. So, like you couldn't tell, but I had my phone down and I was recording it. And they pick him up and they bring him into the car, and they're in a car for a few minutes, and you can see them. He must have right away showed it. And a few minutes later, the husband opens the car door. You can hear his son crying, and he comes over, doesn't say a word, and drops the bag at our feet. We were sitting on our front step. And I'm going, and then they close the door and drive away. And I'm going, what the fuck? What the fuck am I dealing with here? What the fuck? Like, if the toy breaks when it's there, who cares? We're not going to blame you. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, it was that kind of behavior that was so frequent. And we were not living that life with the other co-parenting going on, that it made it even more, it made it stick out even more. You know what I mean? Because we were like, I don't know, I was sending my kids with bags of stuff to their dads. You know what I mean? Like, I never wanted Julia to be uncomfortable or miss her things, and vice versa. Like, stuff from Ron's house would come home, or stuff from Jason's house. The toys go with the child, not with the home. And this was a constant thing, from stuffed animals to electronics. Nothing could cross over. There was no cohesiveness or anything. And those are some specifics, but even down to like our scheduling, if there was a Halloween with our new schedule when we had it, as a mom, I don't want to miss Halloween with my kids, right? And if the schedule fell on a day where the child was with my exes, we did something together. I remember calling her and leaving a message and saying, listen, with our schedule, this is the first Halloween where you won't be with your child. Please come join us for an hour and walk around with him first, alone. My house is open. If you'd like to come to our house for a holiday, if our schedule, like, we would always want to co-parent, and it was up against a wall, and it was never reciprocated. And it was just every single solitary day was a fight, and then a fight for access, a fight for equality. And it is what it is. And so, I know, like, sometimes I always feel like there's a part of our life and our story that we don't tell and that we're hiding from people. And I've always felt like threatened that people would not expose it, but share the story before my husband was ready to. But it is always his story to tell. But my husband is estranged from his son, and it is all related to a life of that up until a certain point. You know what I mean? And he's older now, and my husband has to have faith that, we will get to a point where there's reunification, but it's very difficult and very hard. And it, in my opinion, in my observations, these things don't come out of the blue for people. So if there are people that, you know, are disconnected from a child, the parental alienation is years long. It culminated with this, you know what I mean? Um, and what can you do other than to just always say, you know, I'm I'll wait, you know? So sad. Um, and we, hmm, so my husband was never charged with a crime. My husband has never been charged with child abuse. My husband has never, nobody, like none of that. It was just done in a very different way. And DCF was never involved. It's nothing like that. And there's things obviously you can't say or you can't talk about, but um remember sometimes when I tell you like my husband and I were like really close to separating, it is regarding that. It was a very difficult time for us because it completely changed our family. We haven't seen him. Um my kids obviously haven't seen him or spoken with him. Um, we miss him very much. Um, and, you know, I've always felt that when I entered my husband's life, things were going a certain way, and I always felt like his ex-wife was in control of when my husband would see his son. And I just realized this camera is really off. I don't want to look at myself, but she was in control. She was in control of what my husband saw when very minimal contact, everything was on her terms. And when I met my husband, I was the one that encouraged him to fight for his son and to fight for equality and all of those things, like I'm talking about: vacations, phone calls, access to his doctor's stuff, access to school. I encourage my husband to fight for that. And we had a really great many years of wonderful times and memories with his son because of that. And I'm very grateful that we had that. But I wonder if that like added to where we are today. You know what I mean? Because there's no way of me knowing how I was talked about or perceived in that home. Um, you know, it's very difficult. We um we do not talk about this. My kids and I talk about it. Jeff and I cannot talk about it often because Jeff is completely traumatized by it. Um I thought that if Jeff and I separated and me and my kids were out of the picture and he was by himself, that that would make what was happening at the time better for him. Like, it would give him, like, I've always felt his ex-wife's issue was more with me fighting for my husband to have access, because while I was fighting for Jeff to have access in time, that actually was interpreted by her as a loss of time for her. So if, for example, it was my idea, for Jeff to be able to have a school vacation, well, that's one less school vacation that she had with him. And so I was never a friend. It was always an enemy. I was always a foe. I was responsible for her having less time with her child. And so I thought that if I stepped away from my marriage, like, we're camera off on this. I thought that if I stepped away from my marriage and I let my husband be alone, that that would give him a better chance of things not going down the path that they were going towards right at the beginning. And so I thought that that would be, it would give him a fairer shot, like, to take me out of the equation. And I was willing to just not live with my husband for a while. And my husband refused to do that. And it was exploited or interpreted that he prioritized me over his son. And it was just my husband wanted to keep his family together. And my husband is such a good dad. He not only is a great dad to his son, but he's a phenomenal stepdad to my children. And you guys all know how I feel about stepdads, right? And so making sure that the person I married showed no behaviors like my stepfather was very important. But also, like, listen, my kids are going to be 17, 20, and 25. Okay. Jeff has been in their lives their whole lives. Well, I mean, Georgia was 2.5, 3. Okay. And Georgia's going to be 17. And I have never once witnessed my husband raise a hand, yell, punish, ever do anything that remotely resembled bad parenting or abusive behavior or any of those things. And myself, if you know me, right, how I talk and how I am and the stories I tell, people who get abused either continue that pattern of abuse or they completely break it, right? There's no in between. And I obviously completely broke it. I'm not abusive to my children. I was raised by an abusive stepfather. My husband is not abusive. We actually are extremely loving, hands-on parents. Every accusation was levied against my husband and I, including my children, that, we weren't good people. We didn't have a good home. None of those things were ever documented in police reports, were never documented in court, never documented with DCF. They were documented in a therapist's office, and taken as Bible by a woman whose ultimate goal from the day that she separated my husband was to have her child exclusively to herself. And when a therapist has been used for years, and you tell a story to a therapist and you say things for years, then, you can bring in a therapist's notes and things to court. And a judge will go, well, we're going to lean on the side of the therapist here. And it's another thing that nobody really talks about, but well, I mean, family court's wild. So it's just wild. And so it's been something that we've been dealing with for a couple of years. We haven't seen his son in a couple of years. And that's it. The judge in the case retired. I had always hoped that there would be some changes. That judge retired. The case is essentially it's closed technically. It really was ruled that the therapist would be the one to make the determination about reunification. And the therapist never suggested reunification. Ever. Ever. Which made me realize very early on that the fix was in. I don't know if there's a relationship with the therapist and the parent. I don't know if this is somebody that has been known to do this. I don't know how she found him. I'm not really sure. But a therapist actually said that reunification was not happening. And by the way, when it first happened, just so you know, we were told it was very temporary. We were told it was a week. And then we were told it was going to be another week. And then we were told it was going to be a little bit longer. And then we were told it was going to be the summer. And then we were told by his birthday. And then we were told by Christmas. And then never happened. Never happened. Never happened. And then, a year passed and we're like, how did we get here? Like, how did we get to this point? And then another year passed and Jeff completely changed. He's not the same person. Um, we have different parenting styles. And I understand I raised my kids differently than the way that his son was raised with his mom, but not extraordinarily different parenting styles where it would be detrimental to the child. Do you know what I mean? Different, but not worse, just different. He is 17. And yeah, 17. I think it was very easy for me to be vilified in that whole situation, and that was a big part of it. And um, I can't imagine how it was interpreted or talked about on that side of things. You know what I mean? That I was keeping her away from him, or I made it difficult and they went back to court because of me. And, you know, I saw it. I saw it with my own eyes so many times. But how do you take like those intangible things and bring them up in court, or how do you say it? And it was, you know, I don't know. The way that it is set up is my husband is allowed to send letters in the mail only. No emails, no texts, no listen, we knew. The fix was in, we knew. We got Alex a phone, right? When we got Georgia a phone, the phone was in our name. And when this first happened, we didn't text because we were told we couldn't call, we couldn't text. But after a couple of weeks, we pulled up the phone records to just check and see if there was any communication going on, and there was no calls or no texts on the phone. And I knew right away that she probably took the phone from him. And I waited 3 months, and there was not one call or one text on that phone. And so we ended up getting rid of it, because she just didn't want us to have access, so we knew. Um, so my husband is allowed to send letters in the mail, handwritten letters, no emails. And my husband was in so much pain, he didn't want to do it, right? So for the first year, I sent cards all the time on birthdays, holidays, Halloween, like whatever. I mean, granted, he's a teenager, but I still sent cards. And then after the no responses, I thought maybe getting them from me is bad. So I would still buy them, and I would leave them on the kitchen counter where the mail was with a pen, and I would just encourage Jeff to write them. I'm not kidding you. Every blank card is still in the kitchen. He will not write them. She is court ordered to, and I fought for this as well. She is court ordered to email my husband every day with an update on his son. And in the beginning, we thought that this would be a way to keep up to date with how he was doing, right? And I think we expected that she would keep us up to date. And the very first email that he got from her, court ordered, said, "Hi Jeff, Alex had a good day today," and her name at the end, right? And I was like, well, what kind of a day did he have? What did he do? I remember arguing it in court. My husband had to argue himself. He didn't have an attorney for this. I'll explain that later. But I remember telling my husband, I was standing behind him, and I was like, okay, if you can't see him, you want to know what he's doing. You want to know what his life is like, what's happening. And so my husband fumbled through it, and he was just like, can I get an update every day? And it was very fast. You know how court is and judges and stuff. And the judge was ordered her and said, you have to email the dad every day and let him know how his son is doing. And her attorney was like, okay, no problem. Every single day she wrote the same email. "Hi, Jeff. Alex had a good day today," and her name at the end. The email was never different. And she adhered to the court order, but never said anything. Never said what he did, nothing. And a year after, I will never forget this. I was going to Karen Reed, and I needed to rent a car. And my husband was going with me to rent it. And he had his phone on and we don't touch each other's phones. It's just whatever. And my husband had his phone out, and they had sent him an email, right, from the enterprise. And they asked for our plate on our car that we had another car, right? And he ran outside to get it, and his phone was right on the counter open. And it was a year later, and there was an email from her, and it was the same thing. It said, "Hi Jeff, Alex had a great day today," a year later. And my face got so hot, and I was like, she's still emailing him, but it's still the same thing. And I didn't want to bring it up to Jeff. I didn't want to ask. And I was like, so I never said anything, but I would say maybe is probably a year after that. I just so happened to be down in Jeff's office and his email was up and I had a minute. And I typed her email address in the search bar, and there are hundreds of emails that say the exact same thing. It never changed. It's the exact same thing every single day. She has never not sent the email. It's just the exact same words every single day. He had a great day today. Every day my husband has to get an email from her to remind him of his son that he doesn't see and knows nothing about. There are people that beat, hit, abuse, fuck with their kids that still get access to them. And just because my husband and I are in love, have a good marriage, we parent differently, we've lost him. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. During this whole scenario, when this was happening and it was new a couple of years ago, it was very new and we lost him. And we still were holding out hope that this was temporary, right? Obviously. And one day I was driving in the vicinity of where his son lives, unrelated. I wasn't stalking, trust me. I was just in the vicinity and I saw my husband's parents. And I got a feeling in the pit of my stomach that they would never be in that area. That's just not a place that they would be. And I turned my car around and I saw them turn down his street. And I parked my car at the end of the street and my husband's son came out and was talking to them. And my husband has always had a very touch and go relationship with his mom, not his dad, but his mom. And again, he had been estranged from them when he was married to his wife, and he doesn't get along with his mom. There's a lot of childhood Portuguese trauma there that just my husband just doesn't deal with. And I did not want to tell my husband, but I needed to tell my husband. And my husband said that there must have been a reasonable explanation for it. And so when he came home from work, he called her, his mother. And she said that's not something that she wanted to talk about. And over the next couple of months, we recognized that the ex-wife had partnered with my husband's mother to give her access to my husband's son, something that is well documented in all of the divorce documents that she actually fought against for years. Like when my husband was asking for more parenting time, she would say, I don't want, if I give the overnights, I don't want my son to be sleeping at his mother's house. Like, it's well documented. And it was rooted in them being born again Christians and his ex-wife being Catholic. But like they hated each other. It's well known. They hated each other when they got married. There's like a long documented history between Jeff's ex-wife and Jeff's mother. They hate each other. And in like the final act of manipulation and control, she basically said that, Jeff's mother would have access to the child while Jeff was estranged from him. And the minute that that was confirmed, my husband stopped speaking to his mother. His mother also believed the stories that we hit Alex, abused Alex, that were, again, never documented, never said anywhere, never even said by the child, just by the ex-wife to a therapist. And begged my husband to leave me and move in with her, and that he could have reunification with his son. She sent cards to the house for my husband that on the inside said, "Our door is always open for you. Come home." She also told my husband that if he left me, that they would pay for an attorney to help handle the situation for my husband to get his son back. And again, this is where I said to my husband, we should separate. You cannot do this. And my husband was like, never, never. This is crazy. This is not the way it's supposed to be. It shouldn't happen like this. Like, this is my family. This is my marriage. And by the way, I just want to let you know, Jeff was unbelievably difficult to deal with at this time. He was completely distant. We were fighting all the time. We were not talking. There was disconnect. I was questioning whether or not I wanted to stay married to him. I was so unhappy, so miserable. Like, I was second guessing me. I was second guessing my parenting style. I was second guessing, did I do too much? Did I try too hard? Is this all my fault? Like, it was just the worst of days ever. The worst of days. And to my knowledge, there is still communication with my husband's parents and his son. And that particular piece my husband has so much anger about that. It's almost it's unbelievable. And I will give you the perfect example to highlight that. We ran into a cousin of his at the bar, like his mother's cousin at the bar. And this tone deaf cunt of a person, people who just care about things and how things look and just, I can't even begin. I don't even want to get into it. Just a terrible person. She saw us out at a bar, and my husband and I are sitting there, and she says, "How are you?" And my husband didn't turn around. His back was towards her. Like, he's just all set, right? And she says, "We saw Alex for his birthday. That my husband's mother threw a birthday party for him." And my husband pushed his chair back and got up and went to the bathroom. And I looked at her and I was like, "Please do not say another word in front of my family. Do not say another word." And she looked at me, and I have never been close to like taking my two hands and pushing somebody like backwards, but I felt like I needed to physically get this person away from me. A soulless individual, like soulless. And I had everything I could do to keep my husband from going on a straight up fucking bender that night. And we paid our tab and we went home. We actually sat in the driveway and like listened to music for a long time. And so fast forward to last year when my husband's friend, Kevin, his brother Nick died suddenly. If you hear me talk about Nick Cinema Lords from Kirk Minahan show. It's Nick, and Nick died suddenly, and it was very sad. And we had to go to the funeral. It's the one that Kirk Minahan joked that I pushed the coffin out of the way to go and meet Kirk, which I did neither one of those two things, but it was a very emotional funeral. And my husband has avoided all family things, right? But the fuck he was going to avoid this. This is his friend who passed away, and we were going to this funeral. And I said, if you don't want to go, you know, whatever. And my husband's like, we're fucking going, right? So we get there very early so we can pick our seat. We just want to be there to show our respects to Kevin and his family. And we're sitting completely off to the side. And we knew that Jeff's parents were going to be there. We knew people in Jeff's family were going to be there. And my husband and I are sitting side by side, and my husband is holding my hand like as tight as you possibly can. And I'm like, it's already so sad. We were facing the front, and all of a sudden his mother stands on the side of him, and she's there for a couple seconds. And I was like, my heart was in my throat. And she like smacks his arm, and she goes, are you not going to say hi to your mother? And I swear to fucking God, to every one of you that is listening, I exercised such restraint out of the respect for Nick and for the family, like the Source family. I was like, this is the first time we've seen them. It's the first time, like, and we're here. How do we do this? And we're grieving, and it's like, whatever. And she's like, can I get a hug? And Jeff won't get up out of his seat. And she leans down and she puts her arms around him. And she's like, I miss you so much. And my husband, fucking stone cold, goes, this is not the fucking time for this. And she's like crying. She's like, they lost a son, and my son is right here and won't talk to me. And my husband was like, get off of me. And if he had shown 1 ounce of weakness, I was going to cause a fucking scene. And my husband was so strong, and my father-in-law was there, and he leaned over, and he's just such a fucking whatever. He's like, we miss you guys. And he leaned over to give me a hug. And I stood up and I gave him a hug because I was like pressured and I felt like, okay. And she looks at me and she goes, and you too. We miss you too. And I was sobbing, like, fuck you. Like, you helped facilitate this. How dare you? Like, how fucking dare you? And she's like, it's just so sad. And, you know, it shouldn't be this way. And look at them. They lost their son. And I was like, are you fucking seriously right now? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I just could not, like, listen, my husband is a lot of things, okay? He's a child, and he doesn't fix things around my house. And he has an anger problem, and I am a control freak, and I want things done just my way, and I always think that I'm right. But we are great parents, and all we care about is what happens in the 4 walls of our house and raising good kids. And I feel my husband has been victimized from the minute that he met his ex-wife. The fix was in, and there was pressure for him to marry her and pressure to have kids. And all of this shit, and my husband has never deserved any of what has happened to him. It is his redeeming quality in my eyes that he's been victimized by his mother, by his ex, and by the system. And it is, at the end of the day, it's why over the past couple of years I have changed my resolve, where I was like, do I leave? Do I let him go and try to do this on his own? Are we better apart? This is like, listen, I'm leaving a part out of this. This is too much for me. Like, this is too much. Like, I don't have this with my exes. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to live this way. I don't want to be going to court all the time. This is exhausting, mentally exhausting, physically exhausting, financially exhausting. Like, don't, like, I'm not talking about that part of it, but I wasn't happy about this either. Like, the flip side of this is like, I am like a fucking fantastic mother. Fuck everybody who's saying I'm not. Fuck you people for thinking like how I'm raising my kids is not right. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole other side of this too, where I was very, very angry. And also, like, again, you know how I'm saying, like, okay, this car is luxury and I appreciate things. Like, maybe some of you are acting like you haven't been locked in a room with 5,000 sentences to write on Thanksgiving, but like, I know how parents are and how they can be, and we're not that. You know what I mean? So, you know, I had a lot of resentment towards Jeffrey as well. And I also felt like, you know, at times, why didn't Jeff do this fighting before I got there? After I married my husband, this all fell on my lap, you know, and I sincerely only ever wanted as cohesive of a family as possible, to make it easier for the children, to have our schedules aligned, to make co-parenting easy. I wanted the luxury I had with my exes, which is people come to the house for holidays. You trick or treat together as a family. Who the fuck cares if Ron cheated on me? My daughter, it's Halloween. She wants her mom and dad with her while she's dressed up like a princess. Like, we're fucking going and doing this shit. You know what I mean? Like, it was, if you innately, by default, prioritize your children's happiness over your own, you are like Jessica Machado, right? If you prioritize how you feel and your feelings over your children, you're like those women, right? I have always been selfless when it comes to my children, not with everything else. I'm very selfish with other things. I was very, very jealous you gave Kane $1,000 last night. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding, but I'm kidding. But like, you know what I mean? I'm very selfish. I look out for me all the time. I think I'm great. I'm the best. Blah, 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 fucking blah. Not when it comes to my kids. The personal sacrifices I make for my children in every step of the way, I could never be like these women. And they hate me for that. And so they almost got us. They almost broke us. They almost ruined it, you know? But they didn't. So my hope is that with time, there will be a blissful reunification between my husband and his son, and pain will go away over time. I always say, like, we have to make the most of every day, but to be able to approach this with, there has to be patience and time. That's it. I always was worried and apprehensive about telling this story, because if you look at this from the outside, or somebody that doesn't like me, it's always like, well, what did they do? What did they do wrong? And I would always go back and lean on the fact that there was no police reports. There was no DCF involvement. There was no school documentation. Like, we've never done anything wrong, you know, ever, never, ever, ever. And so I always used to worry, like, about that story once I became more public. But at some point I started to feel very fraudulent. Like, you know, I see in the comments, people are like, Jeff has a son, like, you know what I mean? And like, it didn't feel, there was a barrier there of not being authentic, but a fear of like telling the story and people who don't know us interpreting it the wrong way, which is still possible. You know, we all the time in this arena, we talk about people like Kate Peter who lost her children. We talk about Lindsay and her bad parenting. We talk about people who don't even raise their kids, or DCF has come and taken their children away. And so could this all kind of be looped into that? Of course. And I didn't want to be perceived as those kinds of people. I always felt like if I told the story the right way, from that perspective of truth and honesty, people would get it, but there's a risk that they don't. You know, the only thing I can say is this wasn't like a neglect situation. It wasn't, it was none of that. And it unfortunately happened during the very precocious teen years, you know. And out of the respect for my stepson, there are pieces of this that I can't share, but there were other things that were involved that, you know, made it a little complex, I guess, involving teens. You know what I mean? So I also never wanted to tell the story because, you know, there is a chance that one day or at any point in time, like he could hear it, you know, and you know, he lives with a parent that has never been on board with me as a step parent or with my husband as his father. And so I always wanted to just be kind of like understanding of that, you know what I mean? But I don't know, something about Kane saying last night about what he went through, it was a good reminder that it's not unique to my husband, that far worse has happened. You know, there are men that have been accused of things and put in jail, and DCF involvement in court cases and things like that. And so I guess in that perspective, my husband has avoided that. But, you know, it is what it is. It's a very difficult situation. And we've essentially had to navigate through this. It feels sometimes like a death, you know, it's complete cut off communication. I also have to deal with it with my children, which was very difficult. A lot of conversations with Jack and Georgia. Julia has a very different take on this because she is older when this happens, obviously. Georgia, you know, is the same age as my stepson. So there was a lot of sadness and things like that. Julia has a very, very different approach. You know, she's very mad at my stepson for falling prey to the manipulation. She's always felt like he's had it in him to see through it. I don't look at it that way. You know, you listen to your mom and that's it, you know. So we had a little bit of a breakthrough last year, was it? I'm not really sure when it happened. So we've kept my stepson's room as like a time machine. I can't even get through this, but we didn't change anything. We just left it as it was. Especially because in the beginning it was like, well, he'll be back next week, and then he'll be back next month, and then he'll be back next fall, and then he just never came back. And so we left his room exactly the way that it was, untouched. And then it basically looked like, well, it's not happening and he's not coming back. So I don't know what was going on, but there was like a rearranging of rooms and a cleaning out of a closet. And I was not home, and the kids were doing it themselves, and they piled all of the stuff from the closet into my stepson's room and filled it with all of this stuff, like old comforters, toys, TVs. The room is just chock full of stuff. If you've heard me say like we were going to clean out a room on the third floor, and it's his room. Underneath all of that is the room as it was. His electronics, his Nintendo DS, his clothes, his Eagles jerseys, it's all there. My husband avoids the 3rd floor at all costs. He will not go up there. 2 times a year he goes up there to put in George's air conditioner and to take it out. That's it. And for me, you know, I met my stepson when he was 2.5 or 3. My husband, it's different. Obviously for me, my husband, it's like, I don't know. He's just dealing with such trauma. And it definitely takes a lot of time to reconcile in your head that it's not Jeff's fault, it's not my fault, it's not his son's fault, it's not our faults. You definitely pivot back and forth between those. Some days I feel like it is my fault. Some days I feel like if I had never said anything at all, if I had just let her do it the way she wanted to and limit the access, maybe we would still see him just a little bit. But the silver lining on that is for 10 years, we had the best of the best. It was a fight all the time. It was a fight on schedules. It was all that stuff. But in those 10 years, we got him, right? The best of the best in those 10 years. And we gave it our all. And we just had so much fun. And we had so many great memories. And so the fight was worth it, because once we got it. And we made the absolute most of it. But we don't have that anymore, so. I am assuming that there are stories out there of people that this has happened to and reunification ends up happening, and I have a lot of faith that God will facilitate that in some way. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I will continue to lean on that there is a solution somewhere down the line, and it probably won't look anything like the way that I think it will. But I will say one more thing and then we're done. He's 17. So we don't live near him and we don't have access to him and all of those things. But you know me, I'm a good investigative reporter. So sometimes I try to find anything I can about him just to see. And the mom has no social media at all. Believe me, we've looked. There was one picture of him on a Facebook a long time ago, not a long time ago, a year or so ago, and we got to see what he looked like. Oh, I forgot to say. Jack, I will not be able to say this. Jack called me from work one day. So upset. You know where this is going. And he's like, Mom. And I was like, what? What's the matter? Like, I knew he was at work. He's like, I'm in the bathroom at work. And I said, okay. And he's like, Alex is here at Chili's. And I was like, oh my God, are you okay? And he's just like crying in the bathroom. And he's like, Mom, I'm so like upset. I don't know what to do. Like, he's like, I walked over to the table to bring cups of water. He's like, and I didn't recognize his mom or the stepdad, but it took me a second to recognize him because he's older now, you know, like he went through a little bit of puberty and he was so caught off guard. He's like, I didn't even know what to do. And he like ran to the bathroom and started crying. And I was so upset for him. It's like his brother, you know, he's raised with him and he hasn't seen him, and he was so upset. And I was like, dude, I was like, listen, it's up to you, but you can go to your boss and say, I can't wait on this table, or just go over and just be like, hey, dude, how's it going? And put out your hand or whatever. And he was like, no, I don't think he's gonna reciprocate it. And he said he recognized that the mom was looking at him. She knows who he is, but Jack didn't know who she was, but she knows who he is. And I was like, well, they just probably didn't know that you worked there, and whatever. And he got through it, right? He didn't go back to the table. He came home and was telling us about it. We called Julia and we told Julia. They went back 2 more times over the next couple of months. Went back. So after they knew that he was there, they went back again. Jack's got a little bit of a different take on it now, as you can imagine. He's not as upset as he was the first time, but I Googled the school that he goes to, and on this just happened 2 weeks ago. I Googled the school that he went to, and I put his name in, and I found that he's playing the drums in his school band. And there was a video. I could cry about this, but it's a win. He's playing the drums in a school thing, like a thing where they like play music, like a showcase or whatever. And he's playing the drums, and it's the Foo Fighters, which is one of my husband's favorite bands. And I remember when he asked for drums, we could not afford the drums, just so you know. We couldn't afford them. Like a drum kit. We had just bought Jack that guitar from Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, and he wanted drums. And he said he couldn't get the drums at his house. His mother didn't want them because they were too loud or whatever. And he really wanted the drums. And I was like, so I'm not kidding. I financed the drums, right? Through, where did I get them? What's the music place or whatever? I financed them, and I paid so much money. The drums were like $400, $500 for the drum kit, and it ended up costing me double, like $800, right? And we got him drum lessons. And shortly thereafter, of course, she got him drums. And shortly after that, we never saw him again. Ultimately, Jeff told Jack, take the drums and put them in your room and you use them. We paid for them. Let's just use them or whatever. They never fostered the culture of like music. Like my husband's ex-wife is just like the most generic person on the planet. Zero personality, no creativity. Like, I'm not going to shit all over her, but like, there's no vibe like our house. That's for sure. Okay. And I really do believe that the people in the comment section who are saying like, it'll come around or whatever, like, I really do believe not only are genetics strong, but I believe that the environment that we cultivated at our home will eventually be sought out again. And to watch him play these songs, like the way my husband is with his music, and I saw this, I was like, you can take him out of the home, you can take him away from my husband, but you can't deny like who he is and what he is. And so I absolutely got emotional. I sent the link to Julia, Jack, and Georgia, and I was like, look at who this is. And Julia called me right away. She's like, oh my God, what? And I was like, I know. Like, it was almost like a glimmer of hope. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter how much time has passed. Like, he's similar. He's the same. Like, we're okay. You know what I mean? Like, we'll see him again or whatever. I was on the fence about sharing it with my husband because it's a very touchy thing. You can't really talk to him about it. You don't know if he's going to get that defensive anger, how it's going to go, blah, 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 blah. And so I ended up making the decision to show it to him, and I brought it downstairs and I said, "Look, I want you to see this." And he couldn't believe it, and he was proud, and he was like, "He's good." And I was like, "I know." And I didn't want to push it, but I gave my husband a hug and I didn't cry. And I was just like, "He's just so much like you." And he's like, "Yeah." So there's that. Also, just so you know, Quincy. I bought Quincy when we lost my husband's son. We were still in those phases of, "Oh, you're gonna see him again," and it just kept pushing back and pushing back and pushing back, and my husband was in such despair that and my family was so disjointed and so upset and so lost in dealing with all this thing that I went and bought a goddamn puppy, and I've said it once, I think, but I said, like, Quincy was purchased to bring my family together. And that is why my husband has such a deep connection to that dog because it helped him like deal with his pain and the absence of his son. And like, I think Quincy is symbolic of like the loss, but the hope. And like, so Quincy is just like symbolic of that, if that makes sense. Yes, Quincy and Jeff are inseparable. Reagan is like, the man of the house, the doggo, but the house, but Quincy is very different. And my husband will say, that the best gift he ever received in his life was Quincy, and then the second was the guitar. And so, yeah, Quincy's very important. Anyway, anyway, my nose is so blocked and my ears are blocked from crying so hard. And I certainly did not feel like this was ever something that I was going to talk about. I don't know why, other than to say like Kate bringing it up almost gave me the confidence and the free pass I needed to talk about this whole story. I've always said like Jeff has wanted to like well, back that up. Jeff has always said, "Go ahead and talk about it. I don't give a fuck. I have nothing to hide. We didn't do anything wrong." I was the one that was always apprehensive. I was the one that always said like we're going to get really judged on this and this is a terrible situation and we should never talk about it. But Jeff has always been like, I think he kind of backhanded mentioned something about his ex-wife or something on one of my shows as a comment, and I was like, "Oh my god, don't do that." You know what I mean? Like um and there's sealed records and things, so it's like there's a lot of the stuff nobody would ever find out from court anyway. But Kate inadvertently gave me the free pass to do it. So we are better. My marriage is better, especially the past year. Last year was a very different time. I really tried to refocus on my marriage and try to have some comfort in it. I always felt a little bit of guilt, and it was I responsible, and then so I wanted to back away a little bit. And listen, I mean, I'm going to be listen, I'll even say like my husband and I trying to have sex during the time when this was all happening was a disaster, right? Like we didn't even sleep together. Like we would try and it would be like there were like these underlying emotions, and it was just like it affected our marriage all the way down to like literally our bedroom. Like I'm not kidding. It was just like if I'm being honest, like this whole situation was so traumatic. Um It still continues to be traumatic. Yeah, so I don't know. just feel like Kane mentioned that last night, and I was just like, you know what? You know what? We also have this thing going on here, and it definitely wasn't a feeling of I'm sick of hiding this. I was never like deliberately hiding. I always felt like there needed to be the right time. Turns out, I guess it was Thursday, 24 on 24. I have no idea, but it feels, and I'm very thankful for TT. I can see a couple of things in the chat here where people are saying like, you're not to blame. You guys essentially are strangers. And so like, I should not put any clout in that. But TT has always had very similar approach to this, that she has always been TT is brutally honest to me. And at no point in time did my sister ever tell me that we did something wrong, we mishandled something. My sister was always on board with getting more parenting time, going through the court system. Like I'm very confident TT would have been one of the first people to tell me to do something differently, pull back or whatever. And TT has never felt like that. TT also has a very strong mentality like Julia does, which is like, hands up, you've done everything. And now the ball is in other people's courts. You know what I mean? Like at some point, this will be on his son. Now, I don't anticipate him ever really having the strength to go against his mother, but my hope is that something had, there was one chance very early on where I think we had tickets to go see Slightly Stoopid in concert, and I said to Jeff, we should just get a ticket and send it to him, and Jeff said no. And then I said, why don't you just get a ticket to something else and go? Like, I thought that there was a chance. My hope, I know it's crazy, I hope music is the thing that brings them together somehow, some way. But Jeff has to also be ready to do that. Jeff has to completely, like, the animosity and the anger has to melt away in order for there to be a chance. And I'm not even really sure if he's there yet. He's very angry about what happened to him. So again, like 1,000 things about my husband, not a perfect person, neither am I, but great parent. He's a great stepdad. Wonderful stepdad. It's a testament to that. Julia's friends love him. Aiden, Julia's fiance, considers Jeff to be like an extension of his family. Georgia can talk to Jeff sometimes about things better than she can to me. And Jeff and Jack, Jeff is a wonderful surrogate to Jack in regards to sports and music when Jack's dad isn't around. And so, yeah, he's never fucking put a hand on my kids. He's never punished them. He's never, never done anything. He's as close to a perfect step parent as he could be. So the last thing I will say is this: very early on, back when the situation was his son was in preschool, right? And we didn't have access. And right after we got access, we found out about like the Christmas event and how she never told my husband parents could go. And so she let her boyfriend or her fiance go instead of my husband, right? It was a very small window of time, maybe 6 months or so, where she and I actually could talk on the phone. It's probably when she realized like I was never going to let her get away with what she was doing. And we got into an argument. It was the only argument I ever got in with her. Now, keep in mind, he was 4 years old. She is still with him, yes. So my stepson was 4. And, me and how I am, we were having a conversation. I remember exactly where I was. It was dark out, but it was still early. So it was probably January. It was after the Christmas holiday thing. I was talking on the phone with her. It was getting intense. I pulled into the Shell gas station on County Street when she said this. And I was like, you can't keep him from his dad you can't do that. You shouldn't do it. And I was talking about how I don't do it and how my mother kept me from my dad. And like, again, like, this is probably why I parent the way I parent. And, we're having this conversation, and she said when this child was 4 years old, after he turns 13, he'll be able to choose who he wants to spend his time with. And mark my words, I said to my husband that night, she is just waiting for him to become a teenager where she can use him to get him to disconnect from you. This was when he was 4. I will never forget it. I I I told our attorney that. He was like, "I wish that this had been in a text form." Like, I was like, "This has been the plan from the get, from 4 years old." And then what happened? 14, here we go. You know what I mean? It was right on schedule. It was right on cue. The only thing I would say pissed off about my husband is I tried to tell him that. I tried to plan for that, but it sounded crazy that we would plan for that. It sounded crazy that we would want to document things like, and my husband's lazy. He doesn't have the time for that. He didn't fucking care. You know what I mean? So I don't think he ever thought that that would ever come to fruition. And it was and had been the plan for years. She was able to essentially divorce a person who wasn't going to be financially what she wanted. They started off young. She thought that they were going to get a house. They were going to have a lot of money. My husband isn't really a huge go-getter. He's a comfort guy. He's at the same job for 10 years. It's never about the money. It's about doing the hard work and getting up every day. She saw that. She saw that right away, that this wasn't going to be like a life of luxury. She saw that his mother is a fucking pain in the ass. She didn't want to deal with that. And yeah, she was just like, okay, we're going to call attorney Nancy Stanton. Nancy Stanton was Ron's attorney when Ron and I separated. She is a nasty cunt. I love her, but I was on the opposite sides of Nancy. She and I are friends now. She knows our history very well. It's done. My husband will not fight it in court anymore. He will never go back. We've had plenty of opportunities to go back. I found my husband a free attorney that just deals with father's rights in Massachusetts. And I set my husband up with an appointment. I told him that he could reopen the case, and my husband refused to go. At this point, my husband feels that this will be up to his son to reconnect. I disagree. I think my husband is going to have to be the one to reach out and do so, but I'm not sure. I don't know what it looks like, but we had an opportunity to do that, and my husband chose not to. Again, he's very angry and bitter. Nancy Stanton is a nasty, nasty attorney. She is so good at what she does. Anyway, this is great. This is great. Love this for us. I wonder how much the son actually knows. Listen, we could do a whole show on this. The subtleties, the undermining was there for years and years and years and years and years and years. I don't know how to explain it. If you're a child, right, and you have a dad, and I just can't explain it. I told the story one time, like one of the best examples, like everything was always better at their house, better stuff, better vacations, better cars, better toys, better food. Everything was better. And I always said to my husband, we cannot compete with them financially, but we can get down on the ground and play. We can play better than them. We have imaginations, and we don't care about getting dirty, and we can play. And that is how we combated that for years. Played. My house had tents where we used a staple gun and staple gunned quilts to the walls so we could make the mega tent or the mega fort. We did things that you would normally not do. because I always felt we could combat with play and imagination and fun and openness and intimacy, and those are things that were missing on the other side. You know what I mean? I remember when we got this house, it had a pool, and we were so thrilled. And this is a small pool. I don't even know what it is, but it's a small pool. But we bought this house and we were so thrilled. And the kids, I mean, again, luxury. Um, and within 1 year, they built a pool, a bigger and better pool. And so it was constantly the one-upping. I remember 1 year we went down the Cape for vacation, and it was one of the first years that we got like the extra week of vacation. And we go stay at this place, and it's just a, condo and nothing crazy. And it's just a small vacation. And we got our week, and we're going to be bringing him home at the end of the week for her time. And she says, don't have to bring them all the way back. Just meet us at the Rotary, the Bourne Rotary, and we'll exchange stuff and the child. We're going down the Cape. And literally, the day we ended our vacation down the Cape, and by the way, my husband will tell you, they never vacationed down the Cape, ever. My husband had known her for 10 years beforehand. They never vacationed down the Cape. It wasn't a thing. They rented a gorgeous house down the Cape. And so he left our sad, pathetic little Cape vacation where we were all cramped in a condo. And they literally picked him up from us at the Rotary and went to a, McMansion. I was just like that all the time. All the time. They go to Disney twice a year. And I will tell you, I have an ex-husband, my baby daddy, Julia's dad, who's very wealthy, more money than they have. And Ron did those things with Julia, but in a very different way. You know what I mean? It was never to one up. It was always very different. It never felt the way like we were trying to be one upped. You know what I mean? So read someone's comment, please. I will try. Which comment? Can you say it again? I don't see it. Read Green Thumbnail 1831's comment, please. Can you just say it to me? He can reach out over 18. I'm not really sure it will ever. I don't know. I have no idea. She's very good at what she does. I have to believe that he had wonderful times. I can't say like a kid could ever say it was better or worse or whatever, but someone who was a child in a similar situation needs to be the adult that initiates the reconciliation and never on the shoulders of the child, even when the child is an adult. That's my take on it. That's my take. Jeff has he's bitter and he's angry and whatever. I've always said that Jeff has to be the one. Jeff still has the legal ability to communicate with him through mail. I also, and I don't know if he's done it, but I encouraged my husband to write an email to his son every day and send it to himself, send it to Jeff. I don't know if he's done that. It's possible. I'm not going to invade his privacy like that. But very early on, I said, okay, if you don't want to send him, write it. And then maybe one day you can print it all out and send it to him. You know what I mean? Somebody had made a comment too. Everything I ever sent to the house, I sent with a signature required, so that it could never be, if we ever did go back to court, which I know we won't be doing now, that it could never have been said that she didn't give it to him. So, if my husband and him ever reconcile and he says, just sent you cards and gifts, and not gifts, but sentimental things, pictures and things like that. If he ever said I never got them, we have signature required on those things. Jess fears rejection, so she didn't want to put herself in that Jess or Jeff? Him. Jeff does. yeah, I think Jeff has to work through those feelings about anger and rejection and why his son listened and what did Jeff ever do? Like, it's very complicated. But I've always maintained Jeff has to be the one to reach out. And I agree. I think it shouldn't be on. I have never, ever, 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 not one time, thought that his son was responsible for any of this. I believe that as a child, he reacted exactly how a child would react. He did exactly what there. Listen, there was a part of this that I can't talk about it again for the privacy, but there was some things that also this happened around the time of being a teenager. We are no longer dealing with little kids. We're dealing with teenagers. And there's a lot of things that happen with teenagers that if you even have a regular, normal family are very hard to navigate through that would cause distress and would cause, us to parent differently in ways that we have never parented before. You're dealing with puberty, you're dealing with emotions, you're dealing with pushing back, all of which, by the way, I always felt were completely under the scope of like normal child behaviors, but were exploited for this situation, if that makes sense. And if you have a therapist that is just like all in on helping you, then there's that. Kids cannot bear the responsibility. 100% not. There's never been any blame. And my gift to Alex forever will be that every conversation I've had with my children, whenever they were leaning towards like getting mad at him, I always made sure I drilled into their minds that could very easily have happened to them. They could have had a parent that had this animosity and this style, and it could have happened to them, and they would have never been in control of how they felt. So he is 17. He just turned 17. Would Jeff ever go to therapy? So Jeff was this is a very interesting situation, which is, so Jeff was allowed to go to therapy, but it was virtual. All of our meetings had to be done virtually, whereas the child and his mother were able to go in person. I do not know why the therapist would not allow us to go in there, but it was always done virtually. I can't even tell you how many times it would disconnect. There would be a lack in volume. It was never consistent. It was exactly a half hour. It was costing us a fortune. $175 a week for a half hour, which we didn't have the money for that. We fell behind. There was no ability to work with us on that. And there was no, like, we asked for one of the last court dates. We asked the therapist to bring in his file from back when we asked for additional custody and parenting time before all of this happened. The ex-wife suggested that he get therapy to help with this. Now, never needed the therapy before when the original divorce happened, but now that we wanted more parenting time, he needed therapy. Fine. So he would go once a month. One of the very first conversations we had with this therapist in regards to this situation was, where in all of the years where you have seen this child, whether it was quarterly or monthly, has this child ever brought up any of these things that you're saying are now a problem that we've never heard before or whatever? And he said he never had, that it was just new things that had been coming up. And we were like, we want all of your records to bring to court. And the day we had court, he was like, oh, I don't have them ready. And so I was like, Jeff, you have to tell them we need this to be continued. And Jeff was like, no, we can't continue it. We've got to see if we can get some like opportunities to see Alex. And I was like, this is a critical part of this case. I mean, we're all mini attorneys now at this point, right? After Karen Reed, but prior to that, I was still like, no, no, no. This is a very critical point. We need to be able to prove that, like, what this woman is saying was never part of this. You know what I mean? Blah, 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 blah. And it slipped right through our fingers. And, just so you know, my husband was in court, not me. And I'm not allowed to talk. I'm not allowed to sit near him. I'm in the galley. I can't. I was trying to say something to my husband, and the judge stopped. And she was like, ma'am, your husband is here to speak, not you. He doesn't have an attorney. He's the one that's speaking. You can't talk. It's just, I've always felt that the therapist was in on it. Always. Always. As far as therapy goes, I just prior to this all happening, because there has always been estrangement, as infrequent as it is, between Jeff and his mother, I suggested that there be therapy with him and her to try to work on. There's no love lost between Jeff's mother and I. I just told you about what she was like at the funeral. She's another one, just manipulative. And the stories my husband has told me, whatever. My thought process was, if my husband and her can work through some issues, then there was hope for a little bit more stability with his family. Because nobody really in the family is the problem. It's just Jeff and his mother. They went, I believe, to six different therapy sessions. And my husband came home one day and said, I am never fucking doing that again. So there was no hope for that. None. No hope. That's a whole other situation. I think one of the things that helped heal my husband was not this past summer, but the summer before. My husband had surgery, and my husband was able to take the summer off to recover from surgery. And my husband spent the summer not working, which has never happened since he was 18. And he spent the summer on the pool deck, listening to music and relaxing and smoking weed and being present and being at peace. And I really do feel like, in a way, like that summer healed him a little bit. That was the summer where he was like, I think I just want to go and be a bud tender and sell weed. I don't want this fast-paced job. And I was like, do whatever you want, dude. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out the money situation. Like, we will do whatever. Like, my goal would be that if I can make this work for me, that I would make enough money, and these kids are all grown up and they all have their own lives, that my husband could get off of the track and just be at peace. You know what I mean? That's what I would like from my husband. Anyway. Okay. Are we done? Ugh. Okay. I also would like to say thanks for everybody allowing me to tell this story, as impromptu as it was, in a safe space where everybody is encouraging. I understand this is on the internet and it lives forever, and it is what it is. It's my story the way I'm telling it. My husband has his story the way that he's telling it. I'm sure his son has his story. His ex-wife has her story. His mother has his story. Everybody has their own version. And I guess the truth is somewhere all in between. I can only tell you what it has been like here. I try to come from a place of judgment on myself and my husband. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? But enough of time has passed where I recognize that my husband and I are normal, average, good people who are good parents. And that, that has always been the truth. Everything else can be convoluted and messy, and we don't always do everything exactly right. And I definitely made mistakes. I definitely am hypercritical of what I've done. But, You know, there are just some people out there that, you know, it's like even in this world, like where we are right now, the specific group of people that don't like me and what I do, right? And hate on me and call me names or all of these things or whatever. Like there are some people that are built different than us that can wake up every day and have hate and act on that hate, say hateful things, do hateful things. Meredith O'Neill is one of those people. Like there are people that just have it in them to be that way. You know what I mean? Like that's just the reality of the world that we live in. I can't shield myself from people like that. You can't shield yourself from people like that. They exist. So you either handle it head on, you don't talk about, I don't, everybody has their own way. Like, look how Aiden is handling it. You know what I mean? Like, first he does his truth journey. He wants to tell his whole story. Maybe he's conniving sometimes. Maybe he's trying to like hide things. Maybe he's being honest. He has to handle these people how he handles these people. There are just, the only thing you can control is who you are and how you handle it. I will say this. At times, I have always felt there are fathers that need advocates. I've always been very willing and happy to be that advocate for my husband. He deserves it. He's a good person. He's flawed, but he is a good person. He is a good father. He would never deliberately hurt his son or my children or anybody else's kids. And my husband deserves an advocate. And I feel like I have been that way for him for day one to protect him. And I always will do that. So, you know, I do regret, you know, how I do regret, you know, the space and time where our marriage suffered because of all of those outside influences and the disconnect that we had. But, you know, we stayed together and I'm proud of that. So. Alrighty. Well, this was so fun. I can't wait to never watch or listen to this ever again. Everybody good? Great. I'm sure my phone is going to have lots of text messages and lots of emails. If you had a similar experience, I'm hoping that this was helpful to you in some way. Inadvertently, thank you to Kane for even just being vulnerable enough last night to mention what happened to you that set this in motion, I think. And it felt really great. I also feel a tremendous sense of relief that this was told and not by someone else first in a manner in which to like disparage me or my husband. Do you know what I mean? My husband and I have been married for, it'll be 13 years in April. Long time. Long time. We've known each other, it'll be 14 years in May. We got married very quickly. TT wants to make you feel better and go to the casino. I will tell you, today would be the day where I would put on my sweatpants and go to the casino, but we're not going to do that. My money, for some reason, has a different value to me. Different value to me now. Although maybe I could convince Jeffrey to go to the casino later. I'll let you know. Oh my God, guess what? The fucking mail is here. I'm just ready to get out of my car, and here's the mail lady. Hold on. I'll take you with me. Little does she know we just had a crazy therapy session. Hi. Good morning. Thanks, friend. Have a good day. Guys, there is no... There's no unboxing. What the fuck? Oh. Floodgates opening happened to me. Never saw my father after I was 10 years old. Well, you know the story about me. I didn't know my dad growing up. What do we have for mail? Important tax documents enclosed for Jessica Machado from the Keneally Committee. And I'm assuming this is because they bought advertising for me. Let's open it. Yeah, my mom didn't let me see my dad. I've healed, so it is possible. Let's open this together. The Keneally campaign paid me $600 for advertising. This is another important tax document. Let's see, 5150 the bound. That is correct. I am feeling very comfortable and confident about filing my taxes. I've been spending a ton of time researching and reading and looking at things. I didn't make a lot of money last year, so it's okay, everybody. It's this year that we're going to be worried about. Last year was peanuts. Who is this from? This is from another company. I know this is from Funeral Lady because she bought advertising with me as well for $600, I believe. Rig Quince Corp. So that's going to be Rig, Trupp, and Quintel. So yeah, this is from Amy. Tax docs. These are very important documents to me because this signifies me starting my show and my advertisers supporting me. So that was lovely. I completely forgot Georgia is home. How do y'all know where to send stuff? I have my business is registered with the state of Massachusetts and I have a tax ID number. And so I have, what is it called? A W-9 or something like that. Like when I do business with these people, I give them a copy of that and it has my information on it. And so I sent it to the Keneally 1099s. Yes, thank you. So I have that with my tax ID number and then I have to submit it to them. I think I gave mine to the Keneally campaign, like when they bought the advertising. Amy, I couldn't find it and I just had to send it over to her. So yeah, that's it. I'm learning, trying to do it right. I'll fuck up, I'm sure, but we're a legit business here, everybody. It's not a hobby. Last year was a very pathetic. I don't even want to add up my income last year, but it is a wonder we survived. It's a wonder. Okay, I gotta go in. I gotta check on Georgia. I can hear the dogs barking, so we gotta do that. I just want to say thanks to everybody. This is more for me than it ever was for you. It's very cathartic. It's very helpful. Oh, wait, they don't need to send it? Wait, what? People must not have gotten the notice that the 1099 threshold was raised to 2,000 this year. They didn't need to send either one of those. Wait. Are you sure? Do I still have to claim that as income? What kind of tea do you drink when your glands are swollen? I drink a turmeric peach tea almost every day. If I'm out of it, I have like a blueberry tea, but it has no value, but I drink turmeric tea. Turmeric tea is like it for me. Turmeric peach, sometimes straight turmeric. I also do a crazy breathing thing where I put that in a cup and I just put my head over it and I just breathe it in, but I drink the tea. Wait, do I have to claim this money if it's under 2,000? Okay, thank you. They just didn't need to file it. Okay, thank you, Lady Tammy. This $1,200 is very important for me to claim. Thank you. Okay, we got to end this. It's 3 hours of crazy. I need turmeric to slather on my face. Another thing that I've known to occasionally do is at the grocery store, they have like in the healthy cold vegetable section, they have like these energy shots or whatever. Like there's a turmeric shot. It's a tough drink. Like turmeric is not for everybody. But oh, how do you send me things? Oh, my mailing address. You can email me when this is done, you can go to like the info at the bottom. You'll see my email address. You email me and I will send you my address. Or you can text me. Hold on. You can text that number. Okay. I got to get out of this car. I need to do a sun salutations. I need to check on Georgia. I need to check on the dogs. I'm going to make Georgia do the dishes. I have to go into my office and see what condition that's in because it's post Bunny After Dark. I didn't even finish my coffee. I was crying so much. That felt good. Still sad. Subtle sad, but still good. All right. I have to go. I love you all. Goodbye. Still won't end.